Okay, so today we're going to talk about natural law, which is really the cornerstone of natural moral law theory, right? It's the thing that makes it distinctive. Now, the key idea here is that we can use reason, so our rational senses, to work out what God wants, what God thinks is best. So I think to understand this a little bit more, we need to talk about a few definitions. We need to understand the concept of essence and the concept of telos, because these are going to be really key for our understanding of natural moral law itself. So, the essence is the proper order of a thing. We've talked about this already. The like a triangle's proper essence is three straight sides in an enclosed shape, for instance. But if you're Aquinas, who supports natural moral law, then you think that everything has an essence. And you can work out what the essence is by looking at the telos, which is the purpose of the thing. So let's talk about how natural law works. Well, it begins with eternal law. Eternal law, remember, is God's. Oh, eternal God? No. Eternal law. Let's at least get some of the writing right, Luke. Okay, so eternal law is God's idea of the proper order of things. It's his idea of the essence, which he then gives to the earth. He creates the world with these ideas of essence in mind. And then we encounter the earth and we try to work out what his idea of the essence actually is. And that is natural law. So, natural law, the process of it, is to examine the output of a thing, the kind of natural output, which then allows us to work out what the telos is, so what the actual purpose of any particular thing is, which then allows us to work out what the essence is. Now, I'm going to explain that in a lot more detail as we go on. So I just want you to keep this this thing in mind as we go through what we mean by the process of natural law is essentially working backwards, because we're here and we're trying to work out what here is. So the way we work out what here is we look at what's going on here. So we're examining the output, and then by examining the output, we go, okay, well, if that's the thing that this activity produces, then that's the purpose of that activity. And the essence of a thing is to produce whatever the proper telos is, whatever the actual purpose is. And so that is the essence, and that gets us back to the eternal law, our understanding of what the eternal law actually is. So that, in essence, is the process of natural law. Now, it all rests upon the idea that humans want to be good. They want to do the good thing Because that's kind of how we define good, right? It's for Aquinas and for Aristotle. It's the ultimate purpose of the thing. Remember, for Aristotle, the purpose is eudaimonia, happiness, and for Aquinas, the purpose is also happiness and the worship of God. So he thinks that humans naturally want to be good. He implies then that natural law is the rational application of that want. So if we want to be good, and we can use this process, this methodology, to work out how to be good, this thing here, well then we will naturally want to do those things. And by doing so, by following his methodology, we will work out what good actually is. So let's talk a little bit more about this process then. This process seems pretty fundamental to our understanding of the whole thing. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to give you an example of how we apply that. So I'm going to use sexual ethics as our example of application. And we're going to ask specifically, when should you have sex? Okay. Well, what we're going to start with, what's the output? Okay, that's the first question. I'll put that in the process color so we can tell. Well, the output of sex is sperm. That's literally the thing that is produced, right? That's the kind of the immediate product. A lesser output also, because it's not as frequent as sperm, but pretty frequent, is pleasure. Okay, so those are the outputs. What does that mean for the purpose then? What is the telos? Well, if the output is sperm, and sperm produces babies, he's writing in the 13th century, by the way, so the 13th century idea of reproduction is essentially the woman is like a plant pot, is the way that it was explained to me many years ago. And the sperm is like the seed. So the sperm, they think, contains the whole human being. Never mind. They got that wrong. They didn't do GCSE biology, but then in Aquinas' defense, they didn't have GCSE biology. So the purpose, if the output is sperm, the purpose then is reproduction. First and foremost. So we can then put this together to work out what the essence is. Well, the primary essence is to reproduce. But as with many activities, Aquinas thinks that there is not just one essence. There are multiple essences. Well, implied in reproduction are some other essences. For instance, it has to be a man and a woman. Here, by the way, is the root, really, of the Catholic Church's homophobia. It's not really the Bible. Obviously, the Bible does outlaw gay sex a few times, but it's this reasoning in Aquinas, which is the root of it. So reproduction, man and woman. Also, if you imagine you're in the 13th century and you are a single parent, well, there's no welfare state. You're going to starve to death, and so is your child, which means you'll fail at reproduction. Aquinas examines the animal kingdom and he says, look, animals don't always stay together, but they stay together long enough, be that for never or for their lifetime, depending upon how long it takes to rear young. And young take a long time to mature, therefore, in the human species, and therefore humans must stay together for a very long time. And the thing to guarantee that the man stays around is that it happens within marriage. And then the second lesser essence is pleasure. Now, you'll notice here that it is a list. It goes downwards, right? Now, why does it go downwards? Well, there are greater and lesser essences. So if you break this one, it's significantly worse than breaking that one or that one. Does that make sense? There is an order to the essences and an order of badness if you break them. I just want to make a quick side note, by the way, and talk about human law for a second. Now, human law, I didn't list as one of the 3 key laws because the 3 key laws are the 3 moral laws. But there is another one that we do need to consider, albeit very briefly, and that is human law. Human law is created by the rulers, and it is a set of written laws. And by law here, we don't mean moral law, but we mean literal legal laws that then govern the people. Now, the purpose of this, says Aquinas, is to enable a good society, which is a moral aim. It's one of the precepts, but, and this is a big but, says Aquinas, sorry, I'm thrown, but, says Aquinas, if the law is immoral, so if it breaks the natural law or the divine law, then break the law. It is the least important of the laws. Aquinas puts morality above law. Okay, so the key thing here is to understand how natural law works, which is using reason to examine how a thing works in order to know the essence of that thing and therefore what God wanted you to do with that thing.